Hi, this is David with IminiTradingStrategies.com. Today is October 13th, 2010. Well, we had an interesting day today. I want to go over a whole bunch of trades. Before we do that, let's talk about what we've done for the past 7 or 8 days, all one and done days, right? We've had one trade for the past week and a half for every day, all one and done, great. Well, we talk about all the time that when you're a futures trader or equity trader, it really doesn't matter, you're going to take losing trades. Okay, so today I had 10 trades within the first hour of the day. So I want to go over those trades with you. I actually missed one or two trades, made a mistake. I want to point those out because you know what? I am only human. Traders are all human. So, well, I shouldn't say all traders are computer generated trading out there. But anyways, I want to talk about my trades. So our first trade today, we open up coming at a no zone. So, well, the normal system entry is a high probability trade. That's the trade to take, and it failed. And as I've said many a times, if the NSE, which is normal system entry, fails, the one that follows is normally a good recovery trade. And it indeed was. I lost about 5 ticks here, gained 7 ticks on this trade here. Now there's also a decent pullback trade here, but I jumped out down here on the NSE. So if I were only going for 4 ticks, I could have re-jumped in on the pullback and made some more money off that. Now, I wanted to go with the flow and go with the trend, and this is where there's a little bit of discretion. I want to talk about that because that comes up a lot. Is there discretion in your trading system? Well, in all trading, there's always going to be a little bit of discretion, and it's important that we go over that. Okay, right here we have a valid short pullback trade. But there is also a valid long EET trade, which is on a faster tick chart if you've been watching my video series. And we're going to go to that chart here in a moment. Okay, and both trades are valid. You got a long EET on the faster chart, which would have been an obvious winner, and you've got a short pullback trade. Well, which one do you take? Okay, that's the question I get a lot from a newer student, is saying, well, you know, I understand the normal system entries, I understand the no zones, I get a little confused, or I'm not sure what I should do when presented with the pullback versus the EET. Well, my response is always, first, if you're not sure, you shouldn't do anything. As a day trader, when you day trade for a living, you need to know what trades you're going to make and what you're going to do if you lose, and you need to know that before. Okay, so if you're uncertain, you should kick back and wait until you are certain. Okay, but here's the thing: I chose the pullback trade. Why? Well, I was following the trend. Okay, and we had broken down through this 1170 level, and I'm not a support resistance trader, but I do look at it and say, well, 1170. It's on a 10, right? 1150, 60, 70, those 10 numbers. We can definitely see some downward action here. So I chose that trade. Another factor here is that 70% of the time, the pullback and the EET will both be winners. Okay? Well, that didn't happen in this instance because I went short the pullback. Some of my students took the EET, and some waited for the normal system entry, which is fine too. Okay? The EET is always an aggressive trade, but the risk reward is better. So you're risking less to make more. I like the pullback. I took it. I lost. The problem here, though, is when I'm short here and I get the normal system entry long, there's nothing I can do. I chose the short trade. I got to stick with it. Okay? So the EET trader can make his money here and stay in when the NSE signals. Now, had I done that, which a lot of my students did, okay, they did just what we did here. We all took this trade. We lost, and we recovered. Some grabbed the pullback trade here, and then some grabbed the EET trade or the NSE trade and ran it up, and they were finished here within 15 minutes of the day. That wasn't the case for me. I grabbed the pullback trade. I lost 6 ticks on the trade. So I had lost 5 ticks, made 7 ticks, lost 6 ticks, spinning my wheels a little bit, but as a day trader, sometimes that happens. Now let me pause for a minute and pull up my next chart. Okay, we're back. Now here's that long EET that some of my students grabbed where this is the faster chart, which we take our EE trades off of. Okay, the EETs. This was the trade where some of my guys took the EET. They made a great profit. Some stayed in longer for the NSE. And by the way, the long-term chart went long right around right here, so they stayed in for even more. Ended up being a really good day. Okay, it still was a good day, but some got done faster than others. So can you see how results are going to vary? Because some traders simply are only going to trade NSEs, or some traders are only going to take EETs. I got a lot of students that once they're fluent in my trading course, they decide which trades they want to take, which suit best for them. Okay, so there is going to be a little discretion when you are a trader. That's going to happen, and this is where the discretion comes in with my system, is when you have the pullback versus the EET. So you either just avoid both of those trades, or you realize that 70% of the time they can both be winners. Okay, so either way, I still came out ahead. So some guys finished up right here. I did not. I had to keep going. So we're going to get a little bit long on the video time here. So let me move on. I took my short EET. Remember, it's more of an aggressive trade, but I'm only risking 3 ticks. Okay, I grabbed 4 ticks on this trade. Okay, now this trade here would have been perfect right here. Well, I was in a room, I was chatting, I missed the trade completely. Really was uncalled for. Shame on me. This was my mistake. Could have finished up right there. But again, I'm human. We make mistakes. So what do I do then? Trade 5. I take an EET short trade, only risking 3 ticks. Yep, market starts getting a little bouncy, getting in a really tight sideways range. You know, I think it's going to go down. I'm just 1 tick away from making my profit, right? Here it is right here. Kind of goes back and forth, and it finally stops me out for a 3 tick loss. So let's move on. Now, on my other chart, my middle chart as we'll call it, we were in no zone. Okay, so during no zone, we expect the market to kind of move sideways, and the market's been moving sideways, even though we know at some point market's going to take off and break, do whatever it's going to do. But my rules pretty much state if I'm going to take an EET trade, only going to go for 4 ticks if we're in no zone. Also, I don't want to miss a trade coming out of no zone that may be in the opposite direction. So I grabbed 4 ticks on this trade. Took another EET trade and ended up losing 3 ticks on that trade. Okay, then I want to point out there was one more EET, but this was not valid because the long-term chart, okay, was in the opposite direction. So we would not take this long EET as the long-term filter chart went short, so we would avoid this trade. So let me pause again to go back to the other chart and show you how I finished up. Okay, now we're back on the middle tick chart that we use, and let's talk about that pullback in EET again. Just briefly, just a moment ago, before I paused, I talked about that EET not being valid. So if you picture, if you would, taking the EET, that would have been a stop loss on the EET, even though it's on a different chart. Price is price, okay? But here's where the discretion is gone, because you've got an opportunity for a pullback versus the EET. So the EET has already been defeated because of the long-term filter. So when you're faced with a pullback and or EET, there's not always going to be discretion. There's going to be a time just like this where the long-term filter trumps the EET. You can only take the pullback trade, and that's just what I did. I grabbed 4 ticks off the pullback trade. The long-term filter finished up. It was no longer a factor. Grabbed the first NSC out of no zone. Okay, and grabbed 4 ticks off of that. Now, why did I only grab 4 ticks off of that? Well, was pretty much recovered. I was pretty sure I was done, but I wanted to make sure. And on top of that, this was the high of the day right here at 1175. And all day long, at least all morning long, it's been having a hard time punch through that. So I didn't want to go against resistance and have it move against me. So I just grabbed 4 ticks off the trade. Well, then, just as I did, the long-term filter went long. So now what do I want to do? I want to grab that pullback trade. Okay, so we got 4 ticks on this pullback trade, 4 ticks on this normal system entry coming out of no zone. Okay, now had the long-term filter gone long before I jumped out, I would have just stayed in, but it didn't. But then it did, so I wanted to grab this pullback trade. And another thing I want to talk about is we're right around 10:30 in the morning. Okay, that first hour is when we get most of our action. Then it really gets slow, and sometimes it gets really choppy as a lot of traders take off for lunch, and a lot of the institution trading is finished, at least until afternoons. That first hour is kind of like my sweet spot. Then it gets better again later in the day. Of course, there's always times it can be good all day, but I try to stop trading within that first hour. So I then take this pullback trade here, And because the long-term filter is long, I really stretch it out because I hadn't had a chance to figure out my commissions and count my trades. So I grabbed 6 ticks on a trade. Well, it turns out I didn't need that much. Okay, I had 6 winning trades for a total of 29 ticks. I had 4 losing trades that cost me 17 ticks. So I was up 12 ticks or 3 points. And if you add up the 10 trades that I did, and if you're paying, let's say, $4.50 a round trip, we'll just call it a point. All right, knock a point off of that. I was actually up 2 points profit. So really didn't even need the full 6 ticks. Really could have just grabbed a couple ticks, would have been in really good shape. So, or could have just stopped right there. So I ended up 2 points to the good side after commissions, all within an hour of the day. So my point is, we're going to take losing trades. We had a week and a half of one and dones. That's awesome, but it's not going to happen. This is a trader's day. This is when a good trader knows how to trade. This is what it's all about. The discipline that's required to be able to go in there and recover from losing trades. Okay, so there it is, folks. 10 trades in 1 hour, but we still came out ahead of the game. Some traders, as I mentioned, avoided that pullback and took that long NSC or that long EET, and they finished up earlier. Okay, so good day, but I wanted to point out that we don't win every single trade, and it's paramount to be able to recover from losing trades and have the discipline to follow the rules. So thanks for watching.